It was a Tuesday when Greg casually mentioned it, mid-bite of reheated chicken casserole, his words slipping out like they were nothing. I've always had my suspicions, Helen. I think we need a DNA test. At first, I assumed he was kidding. 15 years of parenting Matthew together, endless nights soothing his colic, helping with school projects, rushing to the ER for his broken arm, 15 years of being partners, or so I believed. I chuckled, don't be absurd. But Greg's face stayed serious, his jaw tight, his fork tapping the plate. His gaze avoided mine, fixed on his food. What do you mean by suspicions? I asked cautiously. Exactly what I said. I've had reasons to question, and it's time we get answers. I was floored, not just by the accusation but by how calmly he said it, as if we were talking about bills or a broken appliance. Greg and I met when I was 28, done with chasing fleeting romances. He wasn't overly charming but reliable, the kind of guy who paid bills on time and mowed the lawn every weekend. Our life wasn't thrilling, but it felt secure, or so I thought. Matthew arrived a year after our wedding, no issues, no chaos. Greg was there in the delivery room, tears in his eyes when he held our son. I'd never seen him cry, not even at his mother's funeral. And now this. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan, counting its spins. I didn't confront him, or demand he retract it. I just lay beside him, his steady breaths a stark contrast to the bomb he dropped on our lives. 2 days later, we were at the clinic. The technician was overly gentle, and I wondered what she saw in us. A scared teen, a cheating spouse, a controlling husband. When Matthew asked why we were seeing a special doctor, Greg said it was routine tests. I stayed quiet. I didn't tell my sister Denise, who calls nightly, or my friend Linda, who always has opinions on men, or even Dr. Reynolds, Matthew's pediatrician since he was 2. I just waited, each passing hour squeezing my chest tighter. The results took 9 days, not the promised 7, each moment heavy, like dample clinging to my skin, scratchy, oppressive. Greg barely spoke, leaving early, returning late, eating in silence. No morning kisses, no good-night love. The air between us was frigid, like strangers sharing a waiting room. On day 5, I asked calmly, without blame, what sparked his doubts. He didn't look up from his newspaper. A few things. Doesn't matter. The test will tell us. His vague, sharp reply felt calculated. I replayed everything. Had someone said something? A coworker? A church friend? Maybe someone commented on Matthew's appearance. But that made no sense. Matthew resembles Greg. Same chin dimple, same curly brown hair, though Greg's is cropped, same stubborn frown when told no. Yet something had changed. I finally confided in Denise. As expected, she said. He's always been insecure, Helen. Remember his ex, and that piano teacher drama? That was 10 years ago, and I thought he'd moved on, but maybe some scars only hide until they're scratched open. Denise offered to visit, but I declined. The house felt too tense for guests. Even Matthew seemed quieter, pushing his peas around at dinner like they held secrets. One night, he whispered, "Is Dad upset with you?" "No, sweetie." I lied. "He's just worn out." I started watching Greg closer, how he checked his phone in the garage, how he shut his laptop when I entered. He used to share everything, dull work spreadsheets, articles about home projects we'd never start. Now it was all locked away. Once, while he showered, I tried his laptop. It had a password now. It never did before. The morning of the results, I couldn't drink my coffee or eat. Matthew was at school, thank goodness. Greg and I drove to the clinic in silence, his hands steady on the wheel, mine gripping my thighs, nails biting into my skin. The receptionist's smile was too cheery. "Mr. and Mrs. Alden? This way." The doctor's face was grave, the kind that delivers life-altering news. He didn't start with the results, just looked at us. "Are you both ready for what you're about to hear?" Greg nodded once, unflinching. "Yes." I couldn't speak. My voice was lost somewhere between the car and the chair. The doctor opened the folder slowly. Each page turned like a ticking clock. The analysis shows a 0% probability of paternity. My ears buzzed. My hands froze. I thought I'd faint. My heart didn't race. It vanished. Greg leaned back, exhaled sharply, and muttered, "I figured." But the doctor wasn't looking at him. His eyes were on me, worried, not pitying. There's more, he said carefully. I ran standard genetic tests, not just for father and son, but for mother and son too. My stomach lurched. What? I whispered. He paused, then said words I'll never unhear. Mrs. Alden, Matthew isn't biologically related to either of you. I stared, certain I'd misheard. Greg's chair screeched. What kind of sick prank is this? The doctor raised a hand. No prank. We triple-checked. This isn't an error. Biologically, the boy you've raised isn't yours. Time froze. The air, the clock, the world. That's impossible, I gasped. I gave birth to him. I held him, fed him. I believe you, the doctor said softly. That's why you should contact the hospital where he was born. There's a chance, though rare, of a neonatal mix-up. Greg stood, face red. So you're saying we've raised someone else's kid for 15 years? The doctor's silence screamed louder than words. The drive home was quiet until we got inside. Greg erupted. I knew something was wrong, but this is beyond anything. I tried to explain, to say I didn't know, but he wasn't hearing me. You had one job, Helen, he spat, storming to the guest room, his new sanctuary. That night, I dug out Matthew's hospital records, wristbands, birth certificate, faded photos of me holding him, exhausted but joyful. I know he's mine, but how do I prove it? The next morning, I stared at cold coffee. Greg didn't come downstairs. His heavy footsteps echoed above. He left for work without a word. After Matthew left for school, I called St. Joseph's Memorial Hospital. 7 rings, then a receptionist answered. I need to speak to someone about a possible neonatal mix-up, I said, voice steady from rehearsal. A pause. Let me transfer you to records. Records sent me to administration, who left me on hold for 11 minutes. A tired voice finally answered. An incident from 15 years ago? That's 2009. Our system only keeps 10 years. You'd need a formal request, maybe a subpoena. A subpoena? My life was unraveling, and I needed paperwork. I hung up, hands shaking, grabbed my coat, and drove to St. Joseph's. The hospital looked different. New wing, new signs, but the parking lot was unchanged. I parked where Greg had when he rushed me in, holding my hand, promising it'd be okay. Inside, it smelled of antiseptic and stale coffee. At the front desk, I demanded medical records. The young woman hesitated. Without a court order, I cut her off. My child might have been switched at birth here. I just need to know who else gave birth that day. Please. She glanced back, then whispered, wait here. 10 minutes later, a woman in her 60s approached, badge reading Diana Lively, Patient Services Director. I remember you, she said before I could speak. Room 207, emergency C-section. We nearly lost you. I blinked. You remember me? She nodded. 40 years here. Some cases stick. In her office, I spilled everything. The DNA test, the shock, the unbearable uncertainty. She listened, then pulled a slim binder from a locked drawer. We were switching to digital records then, she said. Some files are still paper. Her finger traced a list of names and times. 3 other births that day, 2 boys, 1 girl. You were the only C-section. My heart raced. Could there have been a mistake? She sighed. It was hectic. 2 nurses out, maternity understaffed. It's possible, but proving it. She met my eyes. You'll need a lawyer, Helen, and fast. If there was a mix-up, someone else might be asking the same questions soon. I didn't go home. I sat in my car in the hospital lot, hands numb, watching the sun sink below the old maternity wing. My child, not mine, but mine in every way that counts. I gave birth, or thought I did. I raised him, sang to him, held him through fevers, fights, and a goldfish's death. What does biology matter? Still, I needed the truth. I called Linda. Helen, finally, she said, worried. What's going on? I stayed calm. I need a lawyer, someone good, who won't laugh when I say my kid might have been switched at birth. Silence, then. You're serious? Dead serious. She didn't pry. Call Nathan Marks. He's pricey but handled odd hospital cases. Got a family millions for a surgical error. Nathan's office was dim, the sky outside gray. He was in his 40s, sharp-featured, weary-eyed. He didn't flinch as I explained the DNA results, the doctor's reaction, Diana's hesitant admission. I've seen two similar cases, he said, flipping a notepad. Both took months to access delivery logs. One found a child 2 counties away, the other never located the biological parents. What if the other family finds out first? I asked. He looked steady. Depends what they want, custody, contact, or just answers. But this could get messy, especially for your son. I nodded. I hadn't told Matthew yet. Every glance at him choked me. How do you say? You might not be ours, and we don't know whose you are. Greg didn't come home that night. No calls, no texts. I didn't know where he was, and part of me didn't care. He was spiraling into blame, and I couldn't follow. That night, I found a photo from the delivery, me groggy from anesthesia, a nurse in the background, young, blonde, wide-eyed, holding a swaddled baby. Her badge was crooked, unreadable. Something blurred behind her, a bassinet, maybe 2. Greg's handwriting on the back. Helen and Matthew, January 4th, 2009. I called Diana. Was there a nurse that night? Early 20s, long blonde hair, thin? A pause. Yes, Mara Penbrook. New, first month. She quit 2 weeks later, no notice. Mara had vanished. No social media, no LinkedIn. Nathan's PI found her in 4 days. Now Mara Jennings, married, working part-time at a florist 2 hours north. I drove there alone, thoughts twisting like the back roads. What could I say? Hi, did you accidentally take my child? The flower shop was quaint, pink shutters, a bell on the door. Inside, it smelled of lilies and eucalyptus. A blonde woman, thin, hands trembling, looked up. Can I help you? Mara! She froze, smile fading. Sorry, do I? I'm Helen Alden. I gave birth at St. Joseph's, January 4th, 2009. You were there. Her eyes showed recognition, then panic. I had worked in medicine for years. I don't remember. Please, I said softly, just listen. She didn't ask me to leave. In a back room, surrounded by carnations and vases, she spoke. I was 21, second week. We were short-staffed, chaotic. 2 women delivered back-to-back. One natural, one emergency. Me, I said. She nodded. The bassinets got mixed up. We were supposed to check ID bands and crib tags, but admin rushed me. The babies were moved for observation. I thought I got it right. My stomach churned. Are you saying you switched them? I didn't mean to, she whispered, eyes wet. When I suspected a mistake later, I told my supervisor. She said to stay quiet. It'd ruin lives, I'd be liable. So you quit? She nodded. Did anyone else come forward? She shook her head. I remember the other family. The woman, natural birth, her baby was fussy. She had red hair. Her husband worked construction. Her name was Lorna. Lorna, red hair, construction. Not much, but enough. Mara's voice broke. I never forgot. I left with her new name on a business card. Nathan needed to know, but first I drove home. Matthew was on the porch, shooting hoops into the rickety net Greg never fixed. Hey, Mom, he said, wiping sweat. You okay? You look tired. I nodded. Just errands, lots on my mind. Dad's not home again. I know. He bounced the ball. You two fighting. I forced a smile. Something like that. He passed me the ball. Wanna shoot? We played until dusk. Laughing, moving, breathing. The boy who might not be mine, but was. Nathan searched for Lorna. Lorna Blake, age 24 in 2009, lived 2 towns over, gave birth to a boy, no complications, discharged after 48 hours. I dialed the number Nathan gave me. No answer. The next day, I drove to her address. A brick 2-story, wind chimes, a scooter in the driveway. I knocked. A woman with auburn hair, tired eyes, answered, wary like a mother protecting her kids. Yes. Hi, are you Lorna Blake? I am. Do I know you? I swallowed. No, but we may have given birth at St. Joseph's on January 4th, 2009. She stared, then said, Come in. Her house smelled of cinnamon and soap. A teenage boy with earbuds sat on the couch, glancing at me. That's Jacob, she said. 15, moody, only eats beige food. He didn't look like me, but his head tilt sent a shiver through me. I know this sounds wild, I began. but I learned the boy I raised might not be mine or my husband's. There may have been a hospital mix-up. Lorna paled, sitting on the armrest. I always wondered, she whispered. Jacob's blood type didn't match ours. His pediatrician said it was fine, but his hair darkened early, and he never looked like us. I never said anything. Ray doesn't handle uncertainty well. I'm not here to take anything, I said, but I think I might be his biological mother. We sat in silence. Then she asked, "Where's my son?" "At home," I said softly. "Matthew. Smart, kind, loves basketball. He doesn't know yet." Her eyes glistened. "You're the first I've told, but I had bad postpartum depression. I thought I couldn't bond right, but maybe I knew he wasn't mine." I wanted to hug her. Instead, I asked, "Would you consider a DNA test to confirm?" She nodded. That night, I watched Matthew shoot hoops, unable to picture Jacob in his place. He was mine, no test could change that. But if the results confirmed my fears, we'd face something permanent. Greg hadn't come home in 3 nights. His credit card showed a motel, a restaurant, and roses. He wasn't alone. The DNA results came in 3 days. Nathan called, voice steady. "Jacob is your biological son. Matthew is Lorna's." I collapsed, crying, not for the science, but for how my life was built on a mistake. I hadn't told Matthew. Every glance at him felt like a countdown to shattering his world. His mother wasn't his. His father, now gone, couldn't face him. A stranger carried a truth we didn't want. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I drove to the motel from Greg's charges. He answered, shirtless. "Helen." A woman, early 30s, dark hair, in a bathrobe appeared. "You're not even hiding it," I said. He rubbed his neck. "It's nothing." I laughed. "Motel, flowers, dinners? That's something." "She listens," he snapped. "She didn't lie for 15 years. I slapped him before I knew it. I didn't lie. I bled in that hospital, loved our son with everything. That test doesn't change that. You ran, scared of the truth." He turned away, like I was the issue. Lorna texted, "Jacob's asking questions. Maybe we should meet." We chose Saturday, a park, neutral ground. I told Matthew he was meeting someone important. He wore his hoodie, hands in pockets. Jacob and Lorna were there. Jacob was taller, leaner. The boys stared, silent. Matthew turned to me. "Mom, what's happening?" Lorna's voice shook. "Jacob, this is Helen. She's your biological mother." Matthew's brow creased. I knelt. "Sweetheart, there was a hospital mistake. They gave me the wrong baby, but I didn't know. I love you. You're my son always." His eyes widened. "So I'm not yours?" "You are, just not by blood." He stepped back. "Does Dad know?" I nodded. "That's why he left." I couldn't answer. He looked at Jacob. "So you're me." Jacob looked lost. "I don't know." The days after were silent. Matthew locked himself in his room. No basketball, no music. I left food by his door, most stayed untouched. On the 3rd night, he sat on the porch, hoodie up. "Hey," I said, sitting beside him. He stared ahead. "Do I have to live with her?" "No," I said, voice breaking. "No one's taking you. But she's my real mom." "I'm your real mom," I whispered, "in every way that matters." He wiped his nose. "I don't know who I am." I touched his back. He didn't pull away. "Neither do I, but we'll figure it out together." I met Nathan again. He drafted a letter to the hospital, formal, clear. "We know, and we're not quiet." "They'll stall," he warned. "But we've got proof. It's about pressure now." I asked about involving Lorna. He hesitated. "She might want different things." "I'm not taking Jacob," I said. "I just want to know him." Lorna called later. "Jacob wants to meet you, properly. He has questions." I smiled. "I'd like that." Greg didn't return or call. Part of me accepted he was gone, and it didn't break me. I'd lost one family, I wouldn't lose another. Jacob visited on a rainy Wednesday, quiet, hands in his jacket. I just want to see where I would have grown up. I showed in the family room, the backyard with Matthew's growth chart, photos of Matthew's grin, him and Greg at a science fair. Jacob stared at one, me holding Matthew, summer flushed. That could have been me. I swallowed. It still can be in a way. We talked for hours, music, school, small steps. He hugged me, awkward but real, when he left. Lorna called. Matthew wants to come for dinner. I smiled. What did you say? Yes, of course. We agreed. No pressure, just a meal. The hospital's response was a careful denial, offering mediation, a sign they knew they couldn't hide forever. Nathan said, "We can push. It won't be fast, but if you want justice, we go all in." I nodded. We go. Greg filed for divorce through a lawyer. No apology, just a signature. I was okay, free from eggshells, no longer small in my own home. One night, I watched Matthew and Jacob shoot hoops in the driveway. Not brothers, not strangers, two lives circling, making sense of what they were given. I lost a marriage, certainty, but not my son, not my fight for truth. Some mistakes can't be undone, but they can be faced.